how did you decide to get into this field?
Okay, so basically, I decided to be a doctor when I was 18 years old. After doing some work attachment, so I was very inspired. And then, so after entering medical school, towards the end, when you're about to graduate, you start thinking what you're going to do with your life and all that. So I realized I like working with my hands. So being an eye doctor, you do microsurgery, and also I don't like going to the wards a lot, dealing chronically ill patients, and being in an eye doctor, you get to see many patients in a day. So I enjoy meeting people. So you can meet up to 30-40 patients a day, and you can be very, make a big change in a lot of them, improve their eyesight or prevent blindness. And so that's how I got started. And then it's been about 20 years since I entered this field. Yeah.
And you did a lot of research before this and
Yeah.
all those international journals and things like that. But in the end, you sort of focus on age-related macular degeneration. How did you decide to just write down?
Basically, the eye is a very interesting organ. In eye, we focus on different parts of the eye. So I'm more interested in the back of the eye, the retina. And the retina is a very important organ because if anything happens to it, you can't see. Even if you have a perfectly clear lens or cornea, you can't see. And age-related macular degeneration is one of the most common blinding diseases of the retina. So because it affects so many people, and so I have a great interest in doing it. So we are doing, for example, what I'm doing now, I'm doing clinical trials. I'm trying out new treatments or different types of treatments for patients with macular degeneration. And these were helpful because a lot of the research is done on Caucasian patients in Europe or America. So there's much less research being done in Asia. So it's important to have the data about our Asian population to share with the rest of the world.
Is there a particular reason why there's more research done with Caucasians instead of the Asian countries?
It's all about money. I mean, the Americans and the Europeans have been way ahead of medical research than the rest of the world. And of course, if they're doing research in a country, they'll be focused on their own particular patient subgroup. So we have to catch up in this part of the world.
Okay, so I mentioned AMD because I know there was a cookbook that you did with your wife.
Yeah.
So how did the idea of the cookbook?
Yeah. I mean, it's very common. I mean, you already just now someone asked, can you take supplements to prevent myopia? Can you reduce your risk of eye problems? So in Asia, especially, food plays a big part of our life. Mm-hmm. What you eat or don't eat, everything we do, there's some myth or superstition associated with it. After surgery, patients say, can I eat this? Can I not eat this? Should I eat eggs? Should I not eat eggs? So particularly with AMD, there's actually very good evidence that what you eat or don't eat can make it worse or better. So for this particular disease, rather than spend half an hour explaining to the patient about what they should be taking or take more of and less of, I decided to write a book. The book took about 2 years to write, but I'm glad I did it because now all I do is I tell my patients to read the book. So if they are really interested, they will read the book, and then the next time they come back and see me, they will have questions, and then we can go in a better detailed discussion. But writing a book also means that you can reach out to a much bigger group of people rather than just the patients, because there are some patients who may have AMD but they're not aware of it. And in this group of patients, dietary supplementation with high lutein, antioxidants, vitamin C can also help prevent their eye from getting worse. But the best way is by a natural diet. So increase your diet of all these healthy things rather than popping a pill.
Okay, that's quite comprehensive. How did you decide to come up with organizing the retinal disease awareness week?
Because the public is very aware of cataract and glaucoma because there's a lot of work done on that. So I thought we'll do something to focus on diabetes because it's a big problem in Malaysia. 30% of our population are diabetic. Out of this 30%, we estimate at least 10% will go blind. So that's a huge number of people. We're talking about 300,000 people in Malaysia going blind from diabetes. And a lot of them are undetected. So because I'm an eye doctor, I see the late complications of diabetes. And actually, if we have a public health screening for diabetes, they need to have the eye checks once a year. And my society, the Malaysian Society of Ophthalmology, we have a special camera that will take the picture of all diabetic patients for free. And we will grade the picture and we'll tell them how they're doing. and we've been operating for about a year now. And so this retinal disease awareness was done in 2013. Lots of organizations supported it. So we did a big nationwide campaign for a whole week all over the country, from North Kedah all the way to Sabah and Sarawak. We had the same topic being talked about in the news, in the media. And so just to create awareness, what is diabetic retinopathy? What is AMD? So now people know about it, then we can go to the next step. Because our neighbor Singapore have been doing it for 10 years. So, we have to play catch up in terms of educating our public for that. So now we go to the next step, which is how they can work towards preventing all these problems.
Okay. So that means generally in Malaysia, there's not really a high awareness of...
Yeah, there's a low awareness. We did a public survey. About 20% were aware that diabetes can cause blindness, so that's not very high. About 20% knew what AMD stood for, but after that increased quite a bit. But we still have a long way to go. Even the doctors themselves need educating. So we have to educate our own doctors about referring patients with diabetes for eye checkups regularly.
Do you think Malaysia's, government or private sectors are doing enough to...
There's always more that can be done. I think the government is doing what it can, because we have so many other important things like dengue, we have tuberculosis, we have obesity, heart diseases. So I'm the secretary of the Society of Ophthalmology. We are non-governmental organizations. So on our part, we just do what we can. There are a lot of private initiatives as well. So we work together with a lot of international organizations, like there's the Macular Degeneration Society from the UK and National Council for the Blind in Malaysia. So we approach it from many aspects. Yeah.
But what do you think, many people in Malaysia, they don't really focus on eye health? And
yeah, because eye is something that you don't die from. Most of us think that we just go and get a pair of glasses, we can see. But then a lot of the patients, especially the diabetics, they go blind. They're young, some in your age, 20s, and then they turn up in the clinic, and sometimes there's nothing we can do. And it's devastating because these are young patients that cannot work anymore. So it's a huge economic impact on the country.
Okay. Is there any advice that you would give maybe to the current generation? Like earlier you were talking about the myopic thing. That'll be your main topic at TEDxKL, right?
Yeah, myopia is the biggest eye problem in the whole world. We estimate there's at least 1.5 billion people who are myopic in the world. By 2020, 2.5 billion people will be myopic. That's a huge number. It's good if you are selling contact lenses or glasses, you do very well. If you know, in Malaysia, every street corner you go to, there's an optical shop selling glasses. There's a good reason for that, because there's a huge demand. We have to ask ourselves, why is it so? Because 30 years ago, it wasn't that common. And so for the current younger generation, just look among your university mates or your friends, almost everyone wears glasses. Of course, people think that wearing glasses is fine. You can wear contact lenses or cosmetic contact lenses, but they don't realize that the back of the eye, the retina, that's the part that's the most sensitive, and that's the one that later on in life you can get blinding complications. And by preventing it at an early stage, preventing myopia, you can avoid all these problems. So that's why myopia, I would call it a hidden epidemic. It's something that no one talks about, because it doesn't cause death, but later on in life it will cause blindness and affect your quality of life tremendously.
Do you think there are more interesting ways to raise awareness about such eye health among the younger generation? Because like you said, we're all very glued to our screen.
Yeah.
But there's no...
Well, what you can do is, if Facebook could just put a reminder every 10 minutes you're on Facebook, stop looking at this, you're going blind, go outside and play. And if Mark Zuckerberg just did that, he'll be able to reach 1 billion people right away. Or there's an automatic switch off on your WhatsApp. After 10 minutes on WhatsApp, it just goes blank. And you have to get up and do something else. So, because human beings, we sometimes lack discipline. We cannot tear ourselves away from our devices, whether it's a computer, pads or whatever. Partly because of work, partly because of social network and this sort of thing. But at the end of the day, I think if we learn to just allocate our time wisely, say 1 hour a day answer emails, 1 hour answer chats, then the rest of the time do your other things, rather than trying to do 3 things at the same time, which is something I'm guilty of myself. Yeah.
Okay. I think it's good to go slightly off topic from the eye health side. Just for once for TEDxKL, I'm gonna ask, what does infinity and beyond mean to you? Because that's our theme this year.
Wow, it raises lots of happy memories. Yeah, Toy Story is my favorite show. I mean, Toy Story is honestly Buzz Lightyear. I know when I watched it, it's great and fantastic movie, and certainly it just gives you the understanding that there's no limit to what we can achieve. And whether you set your mind on writing a cookbook, of course my cookbook won the best health cookbook in the world. When we started writing it 2 years ago, we didn't have that in mind. We just thought, my wife and I just thought about writing an awareness cookbook. So what it means is you put your heart and soul in anything you do. Be passionate, be committed, and whatever comes after that, just comes. We don't look at the rewards when we start out to do something. Similarly, all the other speakers at TEDxKL, they are passionate about their particular field, and you can tell that when they start talking, they really, really love what they're doing. Certainly what I do, I'm very privileged because the famous saying, if you love what you do, even you don't have to, it's not a job, it's a passion. And the fact I get paid for what I do is a big bonus.
Okay, and also another question for another site that we have. It's called Greater Malaysia.
Yeah.
So it's just a site that we're trying to move towards a more liberal. So just want to ask, what does Greater Malaysia mean to you?
Greater Malaysia is actually going back to our basics. Going back to what Malaysia was like in the 70s and 80s, where all the races mingled freely. I went to a national school where I had friends and teachers from all the different races, and where I'm comfortable dealing with any Malaysian from any part of the world. So what we need to do is step back and just see where we're heading, which is not in the right direction because we're all being segregated by our schools, by our activities, and by religion. So all that needs to, we have to go back to the basic fundamentals of what Malaysia really is. And people like Yasmin Ahmad, who passed away, they all had an idea of what Greater Malaysia is, and I'm sure all of us also feel the same way. But if more and more people start, heading towards, and it shouldn't be labeled as liberal, because then the conservative arm will just start attacking it. So there's no, I think once you start labeling each other, then it gets very complicated, because liberal to some people they might think they might assume other things, you see. Whereas it's just, I think what we feel is the best for our country. So because people think liberal agenda, they have all sorts of ideas about too much freedom, this and that. But actually, I think more likely, to me, Greater Malaysia is just going back to the fundamentals of what Malaysia is meant to be.
Okay. Yeah. I think I just have go back to one more question regarding in the field. Of eye surgeons in Malaysia right now. Do you think there's enough eye surgeons in Malaysia to respond to the?
Oh, I see. Yeah. So basically, there are about 300 eye specialists in the country. Probably about 100 odd in the government, 200 in the private sector. Like any specialty, there's a maldistribution. There's too many in the cities, too few in the rural areas. It's the same for anywhere in the world. So there's never enough in the rural. So I think the government is taking efforts. You get special allowances for practicing in rural areas. There's probably, yes, we do need more eye specialists, I agree. What we don't need is, we need more subspecialists. Basically, we need eye specialists that are good at doing cornea, glaucoma, retina, specific part, and do it well. And that is what the level of a first world country should be. Because we are not just talking about cataracts or simple things like that, but we're focusing on complex blinding diseases that need a long time to train. Because I spent 2.5 years doing only my training just to do retina after I finished all my basic training. So it takes a long level of commitment to reach that certain level of expertise. Then you can offer a service not just for Malaysia but for the rest of the world. Hi, I'm Dr. Ken Fong. I'll be speaking at TEDxKL on the 8th of August at the Putra Stadium. I really look forward to seeing you there.